Hi guys, welcome to Thriving Nuggets YouTube channel with me, Anjoroge. In this channel, I share nuggets on how to thrive in your career and in your personal development. Now in career, I have an inclination to the legal career because that's the career I am in. And in today's video, I have a long-term friend of mine from way back in campus as part of this career option series that we are doing on this channel during this couple of months towards the end of the year. As we discuss the different options that exist in the legal career. And today we are going to talk about being an in-house counsel and what that is in the first place. And my guest is going to take us through her journey and lessons that she has learned along the way. And my hope is that you can take a few nuggets here and there to thrive in your career journey. And as I always say, this is based on my experiences and my guest experiences. It is in no way prescriptive. So you don't have to follow everything, but I hope there is a few nuggets here and there that you can pick and use in your own specific and unique journey. And so without a further ado, I want to welcome Charity. Hata nimemtaja jina yake, but we went to campus together since like first year. I feel like there's so many common experiences and threads. Maybe they'll come up as we go on through the journey. But I would like you to introduce yourself to other people, what you do, who you are. Yes.
Thank you. So I am Charity Njuguna, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, working as an in-house counsel at one of the corporate institutions in Nairobi. And I'm also a certified public secretary. Yes.
Yes, so I knew Charity like from, as I said, from campus, but I think it was more CU. And then we realized we were doing like the certified secretaries course together, and then went to Kenya School of Law. I think there's like a journey and some struggles that we have gone through. And I was telling Charity before we started, like Charity is one of those people, I'm like, I think you knew what you wanted to be and what you wanted to do. And whereas like for me, I was doing the certified secretaries course because people do it like after, as a lawyer, you do it. And I remember that I shared in a certain video that I have, a certain series that I've been having early in the year, a professional courses series. And one of the things I was saying, sometimes we do courses because other people are doing them without thinking what's the value of those courses. But I think, Charity, from you, I learned, number one, that the registrar, I don't know if you remember, but the registrar of the judiciary, that she had done like the certified secretary's course, and that's actually an avenue. I don't know if you remember, but I was like, oh, okay, I'm just doing this thing. Like, I have no idea what this is about. So I want you to take us through that journey. Like when you're starting law school, did you know this is where I want to go? Or did it come with like, as you went to first year, second year, or when you're saying I want to do the law, did you know I want to go in-house, or was it like the normal or the traditional path of get into a law firm and go through that path?
So it goes back to when I was in high school, when I knew I wanted to do law. The then Chief Registrar of the Judiciary was Gladys Boss Sholei, and she had done CPS. Of course, I Googled her up and I checked what had she done to get to where she was. Because I looked at her, the way she was carrying herself, and I admired her. So from that point, I decided I think I want to do law. And even as I was working towards now finishing high school, I already knew I wanted to do law. And I knew that in the future, I will have to do this course that she had done, CPS, because I'd want to be where she is. Yeah, so I now joined law school. And first year, I was grappling with a few things, trying to acquaint myself with campus, knowing what to do and how to go about it. That's why I didn't start, but I started when I was in second year. But I already knew from the onset that I would do CPS. So of course, now coming to campus, I had to get more knowledge on how to enroll, what do I need. And yeah, that's how I found myself doing both law and CPS from when I was in second year in campus. Yeah, and you're right. I knew I wanted to be in corporate. I knew I wanted to be in corporate. I was never thrilled by looking at lawyers arguing in court, much as I was always following proceedings for court matters that were public. But election petitions. I was there following the 2017 one, but I was never thrilled by that. I was more thrilled by people who are in-house, people who sit in boardrooms, people who make decisions, people who lead the company. And of course, profit making, it's a journey. It's good to see that where this company is because you took part in the decision making, in going through the policies, in advising the management. So throughout campus, and even as I was pursuing CPS, as hard as it was, I knew that this is where I want to be. And so that drove me to doing whatever I needed to do. Yes.
Yeah, and I think you've talked about doing CPS because you had looked, and I think that's such a great tip. Like sometimes we want to go to a certain place, maybe you're like, oh, I see this person, I admire what they do, but also going back to look at what have they done, are there certifications they did for them to get there. And I think in one of the, I think I'll reference the professional courses series a lot, but I was talking about how you can decide the course that you want to take in terms of the professional courses. Sometimes it's based on, this is a requirement for you to get into this space, and sometimes it's looking even in LinkedIn, like what are people doing, and then you're like, okay, this person is in my sector and this is what they are doing. So I think one thing I'm curious about, other than the CPS, do you think like law school, like thinking about the units we did, or thinking about what we what like just your law school experience, do you think it prepared you to go to corporate, or are there things that you're like, this is something that we were not prepared for? Or do you think it was perfect and you were fully prepared to go to corporate, which will be an amazing story?
Well, I'd be lying if I said campus prepared me, because I feel campus prepares you for anywhere, for you to get anywhere, for you to be called a lawyer. It doesn't prepare you for where you will be, where you will work. You get the wisdom, you get the skills, and whatever else you need to apply. But as far as corporate is concerned, I think it didn't prepare me, especially on the application part. The theory part of it, I did commercial law, I did corporate and governance. Those are things you apply, but they are not things, there are things that I get to do that no one prepared me about. I feel like law school is more tailored for litigation lawyers. Law school prepares you, like for example, when we were in law school, we had this moot courts, and you and I participated in it a lot. It was fun, but it prepares you for the litigation side of it. It doesn't prepare you on how do you conduct yourself in the corporate space. How do you sit in a boardroom? How do you advise your manager? No one tells you such things. You have to figure it out by yourself, which I had to do now when I joined corporate. And that's not to mean I didn't have a journey before corporate. I also experienced litigation. I didn't fly from law school to corporate. There's a journey, there's a process. But by and by you learn. Yeah, you learn.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying. Like, there's a process. So when you think about like corporate, you moving like from law firm to corporate, you'd already like been in a law firm, working in that law firm for a while. Did you enjoy it, or what made you feel like, okay, I need to go to corporate? Or was it like from a point of, oh, I eventually this is where I wanted to go, so I've gone? Or yeah, I would really love like to understand.
So taking you back to campus, I think I'm a very structured person. I always have, you can attest to that. I always have like 10 years in mind, where do I want to be? So much as after campus, I joined the law firm and I was doing civil litigation. I didn't do a lot of criminal. I was learning. It exposed me. The truth is, litigation is technical and it prepares you for corporate. Corporate is not as technical as litigation. So I think even for people aspiring to go corporate, I'd advise they start with litigation first. If you have gone through that rigorous journey of litigation, then you are able to tell, can I stand this, or do I really want to go? Because there are people who are thrilled by litigation. It's thrilling for sure. But my journey, after I joined the law firm, it was a good law firm. Honestly, it was a good law firm. It pushed me. And I think I wrote that somewhere on my LinkedIn. And I said, it threw me to the deep end. I had to learn things I didn't expect to learn. I had to speak even when my voice was shaking. But it prepared me in the sense that I now do what I need to do. I make decisions and I'm not scared. And much as it was not exactly what I wanted at that point, but it prepared me for where I am right now. So how did I transition? I felt it's time. And well, for my journey, my corporate was immediately after admission to the bar. So after I left campus, I was already working even before I graduated in a law firm. I was there for close to 3 years. So throughout the journey in KSL, throughout my journey in pupillage, I was working in a law firm. But then immediately after admission, I was like, now I have what it takes. I'm already an advocate of the High Court, and therefore it's time to start scouting for these opportunities. So I just felt it's time because I now had all the qualifications, and I felt I had also gotten a good glimpse of what it feels to work in a law firm. And I was sure that was not my life. So I was sure this is not what I want for a lifetime. So it was time to look for opportunities, and I did. Of course, the journey is crazy, going for so many interviews. I think I went for more than 10 interviews to get to where I finally got a job. Other places, you know, it's a journey. You get to get a lot of rejects. Other times they accept you, but you are not comfortable with their terms. But finally, I got to where I am. I am comfortable, and it's an interesting journey to just do your best and also get to where you want to be. Yeah.
And I love what you say, that the experiences that you had at the law firm sort of prepared you for corporate. But I know being in a law firm, okay, I just imagine, because I'm not in a law firm, neither in corporate, but I can imagine there are two different environments, and maybe how people do, or even the kind of work that's being done. It's not like I'm waking up, I'm going to court. So I wonder, what were the big adjustments you had to make? Even as you were starting off, you're like, okay, this is such an adjustment for me. Or things that you're like, okay, this is not the same, I have to learn this. What are some of the things that you thought? Yeah.
So first of all, the culture. In a law firm, people are flexible, yet so rigid. In this sense, you're flexible in terms of your time. Especially in the law firm that I was in, there was nothing like lunch hour. You know, you are so busy, you only go for lunch if time allows you to go for lunch. You only interact with people if time allows. But in terms of the rigidity, which I didn't like, in a law firm, you have to get approval for literally everything you do, including drafting a letter. Someone has to go through it, correct it, even when you are an associate. So that was a culture that I found shocking when I came to this other side of corporate. In corporate, you have, especially now as a legal officer, literally you are an officer. You have to make decisions. The managers love it when you are responsible and you take accountability. You can't keep going to their offices to ask them questions. They expect you're already fit to make decisions, and things go out there in your name. And I think that's important to even mention. I think that's why we have professional indemnity, especially for people in corporate, so that if things go south, for example, the company I'm working for, it's not Charity who's going to be sued, it's my employer. Because we get to make very serious decisions that may have a lot of repercussions, as opposed to a law firm. In a law firm, especially as a pupil, as an intern, or as an associate, everything you do goes out in your partner's name. And then maybe just down there, you indicate your initials. I know most people in law firms can relate. You don't entirely rely on your mind. I feel that is something that law firms, most of them, they limit you. You get to rely on what your partner, maybe the managing partner or the litigation partner thinks about your work. But in corporate, from the start to the finish of whatever you're doing, it's purely on you. Your manager only gets involved if things start, maybe there's a problem, maybe there's a very serious decision that needs to be made. But every day, whatever I do on a day-to-day basis, it's purely my mind, it's purely my work. I totally get to apply what I learn. And I think that's why I'm enjoying working in corporate, and I don't regret coming to corporate. Yes, it teaches you how to be independent, and also you're able to apply your potential, your capacity, kabisa. Yeah.
And you've said like the difference in terms of even ownership of work, like when you think about a law firm and when you think about corporate. I'm curious about, are there certain like skills or like courses you had to take? I know you had taken CPS and it will help you like go into the boardroom, or I'm trying to remember the courses of CPS and I can't even remember quite a bit. It just shows you how much I'm applying it. But all those courses that we did in CPS, like they helped you that, but helped you like navigate like the corporate space. But are there other additional courses or skills where you're like, okay, I have a law degree, I have CPS, but there are these skills that I need to add on so that I am well suited to be in this corporate? Yeah.
So first of all, corporate is very wide. You can find yourself anywhere. You can find yourself in an oil company. You can find yourself in IT. You can find yourself in insurance. Myself, I'm in insurance. So where corporate throws you, you have to acquaint yourself with that industry. Myself, I found myself in the insurance industry. I had never, even in my wildest thoughts, thought I would work in an insurance company. So in an insurance company, for you to grow, you have to do an insurance diploma. And I had to do it. I'm a lawyer, yes, I'm a CPS. I get to apply my knowledge and I'm enjoying it. But for growth purposes and for you to understand it better, I had to do a diploma in insurance. And of course, now, besides now the insurance, I'm also pursuing my master's degree because I realized one thing in corporate, which people out here need to know, it's very competitive. In corporate, people are studying, and once someone finishes their master's, they're already doing another one. So the moment you come to corporate, you have to be ready to invest in yourself. Otherwise, people are outdoing themselves and you might never grow, especially for lawyers. People think when you're in corporate, you can only be in a legal environment. For example, in my company or in the insurance industry, once you are a lawyer, you have worked for a certain number of years, you've already obtained your diploma in insurance, you are eligible to even be beyond being a legal manager. You can become a general manager for that company. With then a certain number of years of experience, you can also become an MD. So it's very wide. It's very wide. But yes, there are courses I've had to pursue, which I'm still pursuing. My diploma. I'm doing an international diploma in insurance from Chartered Insurance Institute of London. So you have to be open-minded. You have to be open-minded. Of course, at first I was like, no, I don't want to be an insurance person. Yeah, but you get to find that the environment is very competitive. So you have to invest in yourself. And besides, everyone is relying on you for decisions. Everyone is relying on you to guide them. When there are issues of contention, even in other departments, the legal department is engraved into so many other departments. So you have to interact with them very often. And if you are not competent, you will lose your relevance. So you have to keep appraising yourself with the courses, trainings. I do a lot of trainings. I have attended so many trainings at the College of Insurance. Yeah, so you have to, which industry are you in? You're in corporate, yes, but which industry are you in? If you find yourself in tech, do a tech degree or diploma or just certifications so that you are competent to deal with this industry. Yeah, it gets you more relevant. And of course, you also get to enjoy your work. It's easier doing something that you understand. So I've had to do that.
Yeah, I really love like what you're saying in terms of industry, understanding what industry you're there. Because I don't know, did you do insurance law, like elective? Yeah, but okay, I'm trying to remember what I remember from insurance law, but there's a lot to do that party and all that. But I assume it's usually like introductory. Like it looks like you've done a full-on course, but there are things that you have no idea about that you have to get to the industry and learn about the industry and build that expertise. You've talked about the different trajectories. So you said someone can be an MD, someone can be general manager and all that. Are there other like spaces? And you've talked about being an insurance firm. So maybe you could talk more about like the different areas where someone can be in corporate. Yeah.
So for example, like I said, basically depends with the industry. You can find yourself as a company secretary. Myself, I also believe someday I'll get there because in the company I'm working in, they don't incorporate the two functions. We already have a company sec, but ideally, of course, we're also trying to push it. I hope they get to watch this video. We're also trying to push it so that I will ensure they watch this because we are trying to push it so that the legal department is comprehensive. We have a company sec, we have a legal officer, we have the legal manager, and so on and so forth. So in corporate, basically, you can be a company secretary. Of course, that is mandatory. You have to have CPS, Certified Public Secretary course from CASNEB. You also can find yourself as a legal officer. You can find yourself as a legal manager. Of course, when you're a legal officer, you have the you have the potential to grow, to being a manager, to being an MD, a CEO, whatever, in whatever space you're in. You can also find yourself in parastatals. There's no single parastatal in Kenya that doesn't have a legal department. There's no company, as long as it's a limited company, that it's functional and has a turnover of more than 1 million, that doesn't have a legal department. So you can find yourself in any of these companies. You can also find yourself advising. Maybe you can find yourself in the compliance section. For example, nowadays lawyers are specializing in corporate governance. Myself, I'm doing my master's in corporate governance because I realize nowadays it's a function on its own. You get to specialize on how to do corporate governance, not being a legal officer, not advising on the legal matters, but on purely governance and compliance. It's a function on its own, especially for multinational companies. So you can find yourself in companies, you can find yourself in a parastatal, you can find yourself in public offices. I don't think there's any public office in Kenya that doesn't have a legal department. So corporate is so wide. Corporate is so wide. Even people in litigation, I don't think they should limit themselves, because you find there are companies that don't want to have resident legal officers. They want to outsource. So it gives you an opportunity to do both. You can be pursuing litigation, and at the same time you're the legal officer, or you are the lawyer who advises a certain company. Maybe you sit in a board as a company secretary, such functions. So it's very wide. It's very wide.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting when you talk about it being very wide. Because, like, for instance, me, when I think about, like, in my own limited understanding, I was just thinking just being like a legal officer, and you don't think about, oh, you can become an MD, because that's the route, because you've been able to understand the business, the corporate side of it. So that's really interesting. And I don't know what your thoughts are. And I think I asked another guest that I had today, and I asked them about the way we are told, like, the market is flooded. Like, and what I'm hearing from you is that there are a lot of options to choose from. So what are your thoughts on, there's so many lawyers? And he made a joke that when you, like, ukirusha mawe, when you throw a stone, you will either hit a lawyer, or I don't know, I won't go to the others, they will be very controversial, but you will definitely hit a lawyer at Jivanji or somewhere else. Or another lawyer. Yeah. So, like, what do you have to say about that notion that it's already flooded, so let me just stay where I am? I don't need to do much. Yeah, because it's already flooded, there's no space for me. Yeah.
I think that's a notion that has always been there. Even when we're in campus, everyone was telling us law is flooded, everyone has done law, which is okay. It's good when we are many. It means the work is easier for all of us. Yeah. But I feel like the space is too big for us to occupy. For example, in our company, we are always overwhelmed by work. Yeah. We are always overwhelmed, and companies are coming up. And I think the more our economy is growing, the more need for lawyers. Yeah. So it's never too much. It's never too much. And I think now that's where the need of specializing comes in. Because if you just have a law degree and maybe KSL, then what else? What differentiates you from the other person? Yeah. You have to stand out. And I think that's why you have to keep investing in yourself. But it's never flooded. I mean, we got jobs. We didn't have any connections. Yeah. The only connection we had was God. Yeah. So it has always been a notion. It's not true. Law is not flooded. Many people have gone to law school, but how many have specialized? How many know what they want, and how many are going for it? If you fold yourself and you believe that there are no opportunities, you won't find them. But if you go out there and find them, look for them, you will find them. If you invest yourself, they say that luck is where opportunity meets preparation. You can't just sit there and expect opportunities to meet you and you're not prepared. You have to keep working on yourself. You have to keep applying for jobs, because jobs are there. Like I said, there's no single parastatal in Kenya without a legal department. There's no company operating with a turnover of more than 1 million without a legal department. There's no ministry without a legal department. So many. So, I mean, do you mean they have exhausted? Of course, no. And they don't just hire one lawyer. For example, where I'm working right now, we are 5 lawyers. And we still want more. Yeah, we still want more. It's never enough, because as the company grows, as the space grows, as the industry grows, and even as our economy grows, there's need for more and more professionals. Yeah, so it's not flooded. There's always a room for everyone, but you have to be prepared for it. And you have to be ready to fight. Yeah. Not literally, but fight for your space by investing in yourself. Yeah.
I love that, invest in yourself. And you've talked about currently doing like a master's in corporate governance. And I hear you saying that it's really important. I would love you to speak more about it. How important is it to do postgraduate? And I know like in different trajectories, there are different opinions on this. But in corporate, what's the value of adding like papers to it? Because there are people who say, you don't need to add papers, experience is king. But how do you think about it, like experience versus having papers?
So I think from the corporate experience that I've gotten, the competition is stiffer in corporate. Because remember, when you're in a law firm, you're only competing with your fellow lawyers. So the only thing that differentiates you, well, to the best of my knowledge, is the number of experience and how well people know you, as far as litigation is concerned. But as far as corporate is concerned, you're competing with people who have done other courses. You're competing with people in technology, people in communications, people in finance. They're all fighting to get to the top. They all want to become CEOs. They all want to become MDs. Then it means you have to do more. You can't just settle for that degree that you did. You can't just settle for that postgraduate diploma that you did at KSL. You have to invest more so that as you go to that boardroom to tell your bosses that, hey, I have this, they will not have anything to push you back with because you've already invested in yourself. And that's why I had now to do the diploma that I'm doing in insurance, because it's mandatory. Like I said, it depends with your industry. Wherever you find yourself, do what those people do. If you just stick to your law degree, you will just remain a legal officer. You will just remain there. But me, I want to break the ceiling. I want to go as far as my mind can imagine and beyond. So you have to custom make yourself to be fit for that industry. Yeah, so you have to invest in yourself. You have to go for postgraduate studies, but you also have to be very careful to do something that is relevant. Don't do things because people are doing them. Do them because you want to get there. Yeah, do them because you want to get there, and do them because they are going to help you even after leaving there. Even, for example, right now, if I'm to leave the insurance industry, I will still apply my master's, the one that I'm now doing in corporate governance. I can fit anywhere, including in the international space. So if I just settle with my law degree, there are places I can't practice with just a law degree, especially in countries that are not Commonwealth. They don't accept people from Kenya unless you have a master's degree. I can fit in the NGO when I have a master's degree. They don't care much about my diploma in insurance. But what if I find myself in another company, in another insurance company? I will still use the course that I'm doing now, the diploma. So there's always something you can do to fit anywhere, as long as you want to do it. Yes. So don't just be comfortable with the bare minimum. Keep doing as much as you can. I love what my manager at work, she is, I think she is the epitome of hard work. And she does a lot of things at the same time. For example, she travels a lot. And she told me she realized that in the countries that she goes to, people speak French. I know she has had to do French. So you can imagine this person, if life ever throws her outside Kenya in a French-speaking country, she is going to fit there. Does it mean we speak French in the office? No, but she has had to do it because she can see beyond where we are working right now. So you have to think beyond where you are right now. Don't just get comfortable. It's hard. Work-life balance is not easy. Sometimes you have to make major sacrifices, but it's totally worth it. For example, if I didn't do CPS, I couldn't get a job in the corporate. Much as I don't use it on a day-to-day basis, it only a percentage of it, it has really helped me. It got me to that job. So I couldn't just sit. And I thank God that I did it from way back in campus. Yeah.
I remember those days. let us not relive them. But yes, but I love that thing of like thinking about it, which is something, as I said, like Charity, I've seen from you, like in terms of thinking about like the future, like where is this taking me? And then also I love you talking about, even as you think about postgraduate, don't think super narrowly. Think about how much can this do for me, so that it's not like, oh, everyone is doing, okay, sorry to anyone who wants to do this, but everyone is doing technology, and then we all go to technology because that's what is sort of like hitting at the moment, but not thinking, where do I want this to take me specifically? And I love when you say that when you are in a specific industry, your law degree may not be enough. because there's a sense of being learned friends, thinking we have learned everything, but being able to adapt to a certain context requires you to understand the industry, which is really great. I'm curious, are there challenges that you have faced when it comes to being in this space? It could be generally, actually, even as you are pivoting to going to corporate, or it could be in corporate, you're like, oh, this is really challenging. And yeah, and things you're like, I wish someone told me like before, like when they were getting into corporate, I wish they told me this, it would have been much easier. Yeah.
So I think just like any other career, challenges are there. The one challenge that I faced was transitioning. I mentioned about culture. There are two different cultures in the law firm and in the corporate. But so when I joined corporate, of course, I was enthusiastic. I was ready to win and to enjoy the space. Only to find that there are things I'll have to adjust. For example, in corporate, things are very strict in terms of time. There's someone looking at the time you clocked in. People don't do that in law firms. You can come at 9 and leave at 9 p.m. No one will ask you as long as you get your job done, especially where I was working. But not in corporate, even if you stay past 10 p.m., you have to be there at 8:30 because that is the standard. So there's a lot of rules to be followed, and that also got me off guard. Also, I think I had figured it was time to rest. Me, I knew corporate, there's no pressure. Me, I knew I was coming to enjoy life.
I think I have that stereotype.
Whoa.
And you need to demystify it because
You better change that. In corporate, you have a lot of pressure because you're having to deal with the litigation lawyers that you have hired externally. You have to deal with your own in-work job. You have to advise your manager. You have to do a lot of opinions. Every contract that your company gets into has to go out in your name. You have to look at it and sign it. If it gets your company in trouble, you have yourself to blame. You have to sit with your colleagues and come up with solutions to things that people are facing, the legal challenges people are facing. So you're not limited to litigation. You're not limited to your company's problems. You have a lot of things you need to do. So, of course, in the first few days, I really struggled balancing. There was a lot of pressure. I think it's because of that notion. Me, I knew in corporate, I just come to the office, do a few things, and then that's it, here and there, and then I call it a day. But you have to be very structured. You have to plan your day. Otherwise, you'll get overwhelmed. And, in corporate, unlike law firms, there are key performance indexes, KPIs. There's someone looking at how many files have you dealt with today. For example, me, where our space is very digitized. Everything you do, we don't have physical files. So everything you do, someone is monitoring. At a click of a button, my manager can run a report and tell from the time I clocked in, what have I done today. In a law firm, no one cares. As long as you win cases, you are good to go. So you have to really prove yourself, because at the end of the day, you have to show that you have met your KPIs. You have to show that you have met the company's targets. You have to show your value for that company. And also, I think the work-life balance. Corporate can consume you. There are times I get to the office at 7 and I leave very late in the evening. How then do I get to balance this with my own personal life? It's a lot of work. Much as it's enjoyable work, it's a whole lot of work to do. So you have to be very careful. You don't lose yourself in corporate, so that you also maintain a good balance of your life and take care of yourself. And also, doing these other things that you're doing to invest in yourself, they expect you to learn, they expect you to gain a lot of courses and certifications, but they will not create that time for you. You have to create it. Yes.
Lose yourself and keep your focus and not find yourself. I think you mentioned something like not find yourself. I know there's a lot of like rat race of like competing and everything, but being like, this is my path, I'm just sticking to my plan. Like, what makes you proud?
The first thing is I understand my niche in that company, so I don't have to compete with anyone to get my space. I know the value I bring in as charity. I know what I do. I know I'm competent at my job. I don't need to keep fighting my colleagues or stepping on people to be seen. That is the one thing that really works for me. The other thing is that I plan my day. Even before leaving office, I usually know tomorrow I have number 1, 2, 3, and 4 that I have to achieve. So planning your day is key. I also talk to people. Sometimes you feel a lot of pressure and you just have a good support system. So it also works for me. I have a good support system and I'm open. I don't cage myself. with problems. Sometimes you feel like it's too much. And I also think the other thing is you need to have people you can call friends at work. They help a lot. There are times when the pressure gets real. The pressure can get real, and if you don't have people you can go and relieve it with, it can be too much. Yeah, so you also need a good, just a good colleague you can talk to. You also need a good support system, and you also need to plan your day. You have to be grounded and to know your space. Don't fight with anyone. Just do your job and be excellent. It always goes out there. Yeah.
And yeah, I love what you said. Like, you have to think about having colleagues who are friends. I know there's this notion of your colleagues are not your friends and all that, but these are people you're going through the same experiences with. So if you come and tell Anne, like, oh, this happened, and I could empathize with you, but I'm not like there. But someone who's going through like the same experiences, then it makes sense. But also, I think you have to also be wise, like in terms of doing that. Charity, you've said you plan your day. You know, like, this is what I need to do and all those things. And you've mentioned the different things you do, like the external lawyers that you sort of like are like a relationship manager kind of thing, advising your manager, the opinions. So I want to see, like, what does a typical week look like for you? You don't have to go into the details. No, Monday, then Tuesday, but just like a typical week for you. What do you enjoy the most in your weekend? Which do you enjoy the least? You're like, if I didn't have to do this, yeah, what you enjoy like the least to do, but you know you have to do it anyway, but you enjoy the least. Yeah.
So my typical week, I usually have court matters. So I said I'm in the insurance industry. So we have a lot of claims. Every claim that turns legal is my responsibility. So I have to plan and understand which lawyer do we give. I'm not a defense lawyer. We have a whole panel of lawyers in our panel as the company that I'm working for. So I have to read the case, understand the merits of that case. Is there something we need to fight, or is it a losing case? Yeah. So I have to look at all cases that have been filed against people who have insured. I have to see the merits, and then I already know the panel and their strengths. So I already know this is the kind of lawyer to give such a matter. This is the kind of matter not to give this lawyer. So I have to go through all the cases. I have to file them. By that I mean we have a system. As I said, our company is very digitized. So we do everything on the system. You have to register that file. You have to open a whole folder. You have to store all the necessary documents. You also have to liaise with our clients, ensure that they have filed all the relevant documents in support of our case. So after that, I have to negotiate. If it's a matter that I feel shouldn't go to court, I will not engage an external lawyer. I have to do it myself. So I do a lot of out-of-court settlements. So this means engaging with our counterparts, the other lawyers on the other side. Sometimes we call them for meetings. Other times we call them over the phone. Other times there's a lot of email exchange between us and those lawyers, of course, without prejudice. Yeah. So I have to do a lot of out-of-court settlements because also it saves the company money. I can't be giving every other matter to lawyers that you have had externally. Sometimes I have to do it myself. So after out-of-court settlements, other times we agree and we save a lot of money for the company. Other times we can't agree. So you just involve the defense lawyers. So I appoint lawyers and then I give them these matters. And then after that, I have to follow up with that case. If there's a court hearing, I have to diarize that, I have to attend those hearings. And being the in-house in that company, I have to ensure to be present for all hearings involving our company. I have to give evidence. I have to defend our matters. Of course, we have to cooperate now with the defense lawyers. And then I also go through contracts. I have to review contracts. I have to review leases. I have to review any legal documentation that our company is involved with. Sometimes even the minutes, everything that the board does, the management does. Sometimes there are internal disputes, especially between our clients and the staff. And they come filing complaints. We also get involved in that a lot. We receive a lot of demand letters. And so we have to identify what we have to do with them. Do we negotiate? Do we meet and do mediation? Which is also another reason as why we also need to explore that other aspect of ADR. Alternative dispute resolution methods, because we do a lot of that, even without having to specialize in that. So that's a typical day for me. I have to look at my diary every morning. At times I even look at it every evening to know if the following day I have a court matter, because of course that also inspires how I dress. Of course, when I'm going to court, I have to be in a suit. So I have to look at my diary every day and understand the times that I have the hearings. Of course, liaise with the external lawyers to know whether the hearing is physical or virtual. Thanks to COVID, most matters are proceeding virtually nowadays. So you can even do your own things, and then when your matter is called, you go to the boardroom or to the meeting room, and then you do your hearing. So I do a lot of court. On days that I don't have court, I do a lot of email correspondences. I do a lot of leases and agreements, commercial transactions that our company is involved in. Have to be responsible for all that documentation. We also do a lot of tendering. Being in the profit-making space, people in our business development, they do a lot of tenders. So we have to go through all those tenders. We have to ensure that the terms are okay. We have to ensure that we are also comfortable with this that they are giving to the clients. We have to ensure that the policies we are selling to people are legal. They have all the legal clauses. So after going through all that, of course, sometimes I have a lot of meetings with the manager. They have to tell us how the company is doing. Should there be things that we need to address? Legal opinions. We have to do a lot of legal opinions. I usually do a lot of legal opinions, both written and verbal. We also have to advise on matters. We do a lot of presentations to people, especially the management. They need to know how we are doing in terms of the claims that we have, in terms of the cases that are in court. We have to defend how we are making profits, how we are saving money for the company. And we also have another function called recoveries. It also takes a better part of my day. Recoveries is trying to recover money that has been paid to third parties, but it's to our insured, but it's third parties who are to blame. So we get involved in drafting those documents, and also in cooperation with the external lawyers, we have to ensure that we file those pleadings in time. We have to attend court and to ensure that we recover money for our company, so that we don't spend a lot of things, whereas it's not our insured who was to blame.
I think I feel like you taking us through the weekend, taking us through your day, it gives someone an overview of what being in corporate looks like. It may not be like the full view, but it actually gives someone an idea, if you want to go to corporate, how it looks like. I think anything that, one of the things that comes to mind when you think about corporate, or when you think about being in like any working space, is boundaries. And you know for sure, like, there's a lot of work involved, and at the same time sometimes there can be like a blurry effect between personal life and work life, but also at the same time generally how people relate. And I know when you come to work, you're relating with people you didn't grow up with. They're not your sisters or your brothers, so they're different personalities. But I don't know, how have you navigated having boundaries at work? And what challenge have you faced? But also, what would you advise someone going into corporate, so that they don't lose themselves into everything and then become boundaryless? Yeah.
So I think, first of all, the question you're asking has already an answer in it. Stick to your boundaries. And you cannot stick to something you have not created. So you have to draw boundaries. Like I said, corporate is very busy, but don't lose yourself in that. Let people know I cannot call Charity before 8 a.m. Let people know I cannot call her past maybe 6 p.m. or 5 p.m., whatever works for you. Unless it's an emergency and you have to write me a text message to know that it's an emergency. Thankfully, in corporate, there are no emergencies. In litigation is where the emergencies, people have been arrested and they need you to come through for them. But in corporate, there's rarely an emergency over the weekend. So I already know I don't expect any calls over the weekend. Remain true to yourself. Whatever you believe in, let it be known. If you are a Christian like me, let people know you are a Christian. Being in the corporate, I go for a lot of parties, but people know there are things I don't do, and they will not push me to do that. Corporate also exposes you to a lot of such things. But if you have your principles and you're true to yourself, don't be sorry about it. Just be yourself, be your authentic self. And I keep saying, the world will always adjust, because this is charity you're dealing with. So, yeah.
That's really insightful. And just teaching people how to treat you, because you teach people how to do it, you don't expect them to automatically know that. So I know I'm your client, I can't be calling you at this and this time, but also, like, at tying that to also flexibility of I'm flexible, but also don't overstep what I'm doing. And that's really great. And even as I wrap up, I think one thing that you've reminded me is when you think about even conflicts in the corporate space, sometimes some things are not that personal. At the end of the day, we want to get this work done. So the question is, am I sort of being objective in how I'm approaching things, as opposed to being super personal, super emotional? Because at the end of the day, you may even end up doing more harm than good. And so as we wrap up, I would like you to look at that camera and sort of say, what would you tell either a prospective law student? So my audience, like, they are either prospective law students, people who are law students and in KSL, and a few of people who we moved through the journey together with up to here. Like, what would you tell them, and what would you sort of, I struggle with saying the word advice, but yeah, like advise them or tell them, or just a nugget you're like, this is the nugget I want to leave you with, even as you think about being in corporate or pivoting to corporate, even for a lawyer who's in a law firm and they want to pivot to corporate. Yeah.
So corporate is good. Corporate is amazing. You get to interact with people in other careers. You are exposed, you learn, you travel, you grow. It will challenge you out of your comfort zone, but it's totally worth it. If you're a student, please don't limit yourself. There's a whole array of opportunities waiting for you in corporate. Also, don't limit yourself in the law degree, in the KSL diploma. Do so much before you get there. Prepare yourself. Don't be scared. You are enough. I think that is what works for me best. Don't be scared. You are enough. And you are where you are because God has chosen you to be where you are. So thrive in it, and don't be scared that you are hurting anyone. Just do your job and excel. For people who are already in corporate, beware of corporate politics. It's real. Don't get involved. Just stick to your lane, respect your bosses, and do your best. Yeah.
Stick to your lane, respect your bosses. Yeah, I know we didn't talk about the politics, but I think you give like really good advice when it comes to being in corporate politics. Like, respect your bosses and honor them. And I know, like, we relate in terms of like the God thing, and being in faith. And one of the things we are told is to honor people in authority. And when you do that, I think you can be able to navigate the politics really well. So thank you so much for coming to share your wisdom, your well of wisdom. It's just amazing to hear from you. And there's so many things, as I told you, like, that are stereotypes even for me, and I think even for the audience. And that is really great, so that you have the full view. Even as the audience is thinking, which option do I want to take? If it's corporate, then you have like an idea of what does it take, but what does it mean to be in that space. So thank you so much for watching this video. It's been an honor and a pleasure. In case you have any specific question for Charity based on what she has shared, or something you're like, and I wish you asked Charity this, kindly drop it down in the comment section. If we have like a lot of questions after this whole series, we may figure out how to deal with them. But if you have any question, feel free to drop it down in the comment section. And you can always feel free to DM me on Instagram, njorogeann.ke, on my email, info@njorogeann.co.ke. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was insightful to you, and it gave you the nuggets that you need to thrive in your corporate career. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye-bye.